Trained as an anthropologist of education, Dr. Hill holds a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. His research focuses on the intersections between culture, politics, and education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Marc Lamont Hill.
I'm so excited, so honored to be here this morning to talk to you all about justice. What better thing to come to a university to talk about than justice? And I'm even more excited and honored to be doing that against the backdrop of the legacy of Martin King, someone who, in my estimation, is the greatest American ever produced. Just yesterday, we celebrated his official birthday. On Monday, we'll get the time off and all of that. But yesterday, we celebrated his birthday, and it seems to me that the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., the namesake of this symposium, provides a perfect opportunity to help us think through perhaps how to create a world that is more just, to create a community of justice, to use the language of this event. And that the notion of community and the notion of justice and the understanding of this particular moment in history can be better understood through the legacy of King. And so I'm going to use King as a lens through which to make sense of all this other stuff. And there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff these days that we need to think about, and not all of it is bad. I mean, I think that's part of the fascinating quagmire of this moment. On the one hand, there is an extraordinary opportunity for us to celebrate. There is an extraordinary opportunity for us to be excited, for us to be energized, for us to see promise and possibility in the American project. Because we're in the age of Obama. And the age of Obama itself marks this complicated dynamic in American life. On the one hand, it is an opportunity for us to see progress. It is an opportunity for us to see justice. It is an opportunity for us to admire the American democratic experiment as such. After all, he got elected. 2008, November 4th, America voted for this man. In 2008, on November 4th, America was able to realize a century-long project of perfection and self-correction and improvement and reform. When you think about Barack Obama becoming president, it is happening against all evidence to the contrary. It's happening only a little bit of a century beyond an Emancipation Proclamation. It's only some decades beyond segregated lunch counters and decades beyond Jim and Jane Crow. It's decades beyond barking dogs and water hoses and freedom rides. We're talking about just 54 years beyond Brown versus Board of Education, 53 years beyond Brown v. Board 2, when all deliberate speed slowed down the machinery of democracy. We just 43 years after the Voting Rights Act. Think about that for a moment. The idea that 43 years after black people get citizenship, get access to the franchise, get access to the vote, the thing that marks democratic citizenship. 43 years after black folk become citizens for real, one of their own children becomes the leader of the most powerful empire in human history. What's the black national anthem? I ain't gonna make y'all sing it, just what's the name of it? Lift every voice and sing. Imagine black folk coming out of slavery. Imagine black folk coming out of Jim and Jane Crow. Imagine the context of having your voice muted by democratic machinery, muted at the electoral polling boxes, muted by all of these laws, muted in every single way that you could imagine. And when you make a national anthem, you don't say lift our voice. You don't say lift my voice. You say lift every voice. Now, that's a humanistic project. That's an ethical and moralistic understanding of what it means for democracy to function, not by reversing the relations of oppression, not by giving the gun to the rabbit, but instead by saying all of us need to have a voice that is heard. All of us need to be understood. All of us need to be recognized as fully human. But true diversity and true justice doesn't simply come by representation. It comes by investment. It comes by commitment. King didn't come up there and say, I have a dream that we all sit together as different colors. King said, I come to the nation's capital to what? To cash a check. He said the Emancipation Proclamation, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, he said these are what? Promissory notes. He said the Negro's check has been returned insufficient funds. Listen to yourself, America. You promised. Listen to yourself. Emancipation Proclamation, you promised. 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, America, you promised. Declaration of Independence, America, you promised. Constitution, America, you promised. Brown v. Board of Education, 1954, America, you promised. 1955, Brown v. Board 2, America, you promised. 1964, Public Accommodations, America, you promised. Voting Rights Act, 1965, America, you promised. You promised. The legacy of King is to get America to listen to its democratic promise. So as we enter 2015 and we're thinking about justice and we're thinking about peace and we're thinking about how to create this community, let's try listening to ourselves. How might we think about freedom of speech in this community? How might we think about freedom of assembly? How might we think about political prisoners? How might we think about freedom of the press in this community if we listen to our First Amendment? It's really that simple. The biggest problem in the world today is that there are too many people who don't do anything. On this campus right now, we have the opportunity to do so much. When we leave this campus and we go to Pittsburgh, the real Pittsburgh, I'm saying the community, there are students right now who would benefit from having our community in the schoolyard present. Just seeing us there would make a difference. There are black men who are considered at risk to drop out. Just seeing other black men from this campus on the schoolyard can have an extraordinary effect on whether or not they think they could be in college. There are studies that show that as people go through high school, if just one person tells them that they're capable of doing college-level work, not 10, not 47, not 100. If just one person tells them they're capable of doing college work, they're exponentially more likely to go to college. What would it mean for us to be present in that community? We know that people lose, particularly people in 1st through 4th grade, they lose vocabulary, they lose, they're outpaced by their middle-class counterparts. I'm talking about poor kids in particular, working-class kids in particular, of all races. They're outpaced by their middle-class counterparts in the summertime, because they get to go on vacations, they're traveling, they're getting new vocabulary, new words, and oftentimes our parents are working and we're at home. We can help bridge the education gap simply by having reading groups with students in the summertime, by reading the kids in the summertime. I think the most sad thing about the educational climate in this nation is that oftentimes we know what works and we still don't do it. Yeah, we need government funding. Yeah, we need investment. Yeah, we need structural change. But right now on this campus, we can commit to organizing actions that change the realities of those students. We can mentor. We can teach. We can have arts education. We can do that stuff here. We can have food drives. We can feed people. We can heal people. We can do that work right here. The legacy of King was local action connected to a mass movement. He said, when dogs bite us in Birmingham, we bleed everywhere. So when something happens in Ferguson, yeah, we should be there. When something happens in New York, we should be there. But we shouldn't be driving past neighborhoods where Michael Browns get shot in Pittsburgh all the time. We shouldn't be driving past those second-class schools in our neighborhood to protest what's happening in Philadelphia with those second-class schools. We need to invest in our own schools, in our own neighborhoods, in our own communities, in our own hospitals. Right here, we can do that work in this community if we listen to one another. If we have a sense of history, if we do wise and discerning analysis, and if we have the commitment to doing something when we leave here. To doing something. That's what King would ask us to do right now. If we want a community of justice, let's commit to doing something right here, right now, starting today. Thank you. Thank you.